Welcome back to the Empowa podcast. Today is going to be an exciting episode because it's going to be the first episode of a monthly podcast series, which is going to be focused around the work that we are doing on the ground and the challenges and opportunities that exist there. And by work on the ground, I mean the work that the amazing team at Casa Real are doing, who is our housing developer partner in Mozambique. So since this is our first episode of this on the ground type series, we still need to come up with a cool name for this. But I think it will be a good opportunity to introduce Casa Real, who you guys are, what you guys do, a bit about your mission, and even touch on some parts of the journey so far. But before we dive into that, let's start off with some personal introductions, and then we can go from there. So Richard, maybe we can start with you, and then we'll go Marie-Odile and Andrew.
Thank you very much. I'm Richard Bahumwire, the CEO and co-founder of Casa Real. I live in Mozambique.
Yeah, nice.
Hello, my name is Marie-Odile Zanders. I'm a co-founder of Casa Real together with Richard and Andrew. And I live both in Mozambique and the Netherlands.
I'm the third director of the company. My name's Andrew Maclean, and I'm an engineer by background, supporting Richard on the technical side, but helping to run the company too.
Not the country.
No.
The company. Running the country will be a tough job.
So I'll just put it in the middle and see who wants to respond. But I'm very curious, Richard, because you're on the ground. And we just had a brief discussion before. And from the Catalyst project, I understood we're now at the phase of putting the roofs on the houses enabled by Casa Real. Can you tell us first a little bit about what Casa Real at this very moment is? What's it doing in Mozambique when it comes to affordable housing? Because I understood it's incredible.
Thank you very much. We are at the moment, first of all, we have designed the project before, which we have been constructing, building 150 units. At the start, we had the 200, but there is high voltage line that is passing on the other side of the development. So the electricity company decided that we need to leave 50 meters. And so we had to reduce the number of units on the site to 150. So at the moment, we have completed 85 units on that development, and we are now piloting green housing to integrate green building in our development, because before we were using normal conventional construction. And now we feel like it's time, because of climate change and the need to respond to resilience issues, then we decided to integrate a green building. And at the moment with Empowa, we are piloting 2 units that we are completing, and next month we will start another pilot, and I will speak to both differently. So the one we are piloting now is Eco Home, which Eco Home, the green building, means that instead of using the way we've been building, we started integrating other features. We decided to do this because we want to make a transition that we don't need to go greening completely 100%, but we can start with what people know. And we are using solar instead of electricity. So we will add solar panels on the roof. And then instead of using regular painting, we can use solar reflective paint. We are using sustainable timber, which is treated and from a sustainable timber factory and forestry management. And all of these are helping us to really make sure that we have sustainable building development in Mozambique. Still, in most cases, when you start integrating other things, anything you add on the house, it's a cost but it adds value, but then it adds cost. But then we are trying to really continue to balance between, because of affordability, to make sure that still our clients can afford. Of course, looking at also sources of end user finance and integrating innovative financing in our development. So in addition to what I have mentioned, we will also do rainwater harvesting. So during the rain season, then we can collect water, and after that, clients can still use. We will also do a decentralized treatment system, wastewater treatment system, and that's one reason Andrew is coming soon to support the team to put down this. And so we reuse the water that that will be treated by this decentralized treatment system. We reuse the water during the summer season to irrigate the compound.
Okay.
It's quite impressive. So basically you went from affordable homes, which was your main mission in the beginning, right? And you were able to reduce the price of a home in Mozambique almost by 75%, I believe.
Absolutely. So before we designed this,
but now you move into greener, and apparently, although it may provide a challenge to the affordability, it's also an opportunity when I listen to your electricity and your water supply, which is decentralized.
Absolutely, yeah. So when we were before we set up this project, we started this project, we had a survey, and of course we wanted to find out what the housing market is and the housing condition in Mozambique. And during that time, we discovered that actually the cheapest house in the market was $55,000. We started designing it and decided evaluating the affordability, and we moved it to $10,000, which was a great move, and to starting the affordability. But at the moment, so then we continue to see at scale, see how we can reduce the cost. But of course, we reduce the cost without compromising the quality. Our houses are of good quality, and we feel that we continue at scale, we continue to see if we can even reduce the cost further. So with integrating this is also an opportunity, greening also an opportunity. So when you look at affordability, a house is affordable not only at the start, it should be a sustainable house that even the client, after buying the house, in the future, should not run away from this house, like looking at utilities, looking at also repairs and maintenance of this house. So when we are designing and building, we ensure good quality housing, and also then this greening is going to help the clients to look at the future. So spend money today at the start, and then in the future you have no problem. The other good thing is that the solar works that we are working with, they also have a component of incremental payment. So you can also acquire the solar energy and all the solar kits. You pay a deposit, and then every month you pay for a certain period of time. And then once you complete that payment, the whole life, you then are not like this one who is buying electricity every day, credit every day to consume. So then it becomes a future affordability that the clients will have.
But what I'd like to share also is that it's not only about providing affordable houses. You need to provide houses people can pay for. And if there means very few people in the world, actually not only in Mozambique, but in the world, can pay for their houses all at once. So you need so that's what we've picked up also as Casa Real, not only from the supply side, making the house cheaper to construct as opposed to, and therefore a cheaper sales price as opposed to what was the standard, $55,000, which was affordable actually to only 1% of the population. I mean, and then the house can seem affordable, but if it doesn't match the client's conditions, it's still expensive. A cheap house is still expensive if the financing is expensive. Yeah. So that is the second nut to crack, actually, to make it payable for the client. Anyway.
Marie-Odile, why don't you talk about that? But I think also, I think we need to talk about who we're targeting, our clients.
Yeah. And the context, the challenge that, you know, because for a lot of Westerners, $55,000 may seem like a good deal, but it's not for the average Mozambican.
Yeah, so you have the environmental circumstances, Blane, or maybe you want to, which is...
Yeah, well, so I think we want to talk about the context specific to Mozambique. But for me personally, I'd love to rewind a tiny bit and just get the inspiration behind Casa Real as well, and maybe the background story around the Casa Real and why you guys teamed up and to create something like this.
Where to start? It seems like we've been working with Casa Real already. Its own specific era. The company was established in 2018, and at the time, all three of us were in one way or the other working for a social investor and innovator in the field of affordable housing globally. It's called Real, and we were all consultants to that company. And Real was really keen to engage in Mozambique, one of the lowest income countries in the world, and the challenging, Mozambique has many challenges due to the poverty also, but due to its politics and civil war history, there's very few groups, social society groups working on affordable housing. So the intervention mode of this organization, Real, that we were working for was really a different one that they were used to working. Because usually they would associate with this local community group, which were fighting for right for more affordable housing. But if that's there, how do you then start? And the interesting thing is that there was at the same time, there was this master planning process going on in Beira. Beira, the second biggest city of Mozambique, roughly 500,000 to 600,000 people. And it's actually the opposite of what's happening in many other African cities that, as I said, usually there's a lot of advocacy groups working on issues the poor face, and primarily a strong component of that is usually housing. But here you had actually a municipality very keen to improve the city for all its people. So Real and the city of Beira signed an MOU, I think it was in 2015, and we as consultants were then involved and asked to have a look at Beira. Richard then came in, did his survey to assess the market potential. So we really started from the bottom up, on the ground, and to ask people, Richard can speak more to that market survey, what were their wishes. We really, I think one thing we did different also was to approach this as a market, as instead of a charitable project. And we discovered actually people were very interested to pay for better housing. And we quickly realized also in that journey that the opportunities were not there. I mean, literally no offering was going out to the majority. And then majority, I mean 99% of the people. There's no, there's no market for affordable housing. We complain about housing in the West, but what if there's nothing? So 99% of the populations either need to build housing themselves or need to save for 20 years to have enough money to build a house. So yeah, with our combined experience, we thought we could really, and it was a journey step by step. We thought, let's see how far we can break through these barriers in a country such as Mozambique. And that is where we are now. We brought down, as you said already, the construction price, the sales price actually for a house from $55,000 to $10,000. And for us all the time, that's been our missions also, to make more affordable housing available for the average hardworking Mozambican. So the common man and woman.
So-
And I think
Yeah.
we found our three particular strands to us developing the company. The first was build. We started by building some showcase houses, some 10 houses, just to demonstrate that you could build a house for $10,000. And we build in a particular way, which is incremental. So we build a small house with all the essential services in it, but already designed for expansion as people's families grow, as their needs grow. And so we did a showcase showing how these houses start and how they would develop and how you could build them out to become a complete home over time. So the first thing was demonstrating the technology and how we could do the houses. The second was engaging with the credit markets, because as Marie-Odile said earlier, no one has the money in their pocket to buy a house straight off. And so you have to start talking to people about how they're going to raise the money, how they're going to pay it off over time. And this is another place where there is just zero market in Mozambique. The entire country has only 600 mortgages. My village has more mortgages than the entire country of Mozambique, which is a stark figure. And the interest rates come in at about 30% for our clients, even if they were available. So we had to work on the credit markets as well and talk to people who might be supplying the credit and find ways of people affording the houses, which is where our tenant purchase scheme that Marie-Odile can talk about more comes in. And then the final thing was, because we are all foreigners to Mozambique, we had to start building up a local team. And so a lot of Richard's work has been taking some really great young Mozambicans, most of them straight out of university, and building up a dynamic young team for our company. Because the future of our company is not someone like me with all my grey hair, but it's the young Mozambicans who Richard's building into a team. So those are the sort of three strands of the work that have been going on inside the company.
So basically the three of you came together as consultants and became almost like the three musketeers in Mozambique, but not taking from the rich and giving to the poor, but providing opportunities for the lower income and the middle income class to empower themselves, right? And
Yeah.
then also to grow. But I like really, Richard, and I would love to learn more about how this team is building up, bottom up really in Mozambique. But basically you are starting a new movement in Mozambique right now around affordable housing and now also around greener housing, right? Can you tell us a bit more about how your team is building up and what challenges you're facing in Mozambique, Richard?
Yeah, sure. So what we do actually as Casa Real, but before that, we started, the three of us, and I was here in Mozambique. And then we started from scratch, right from the registration of the company. It's that registration process that we needed to get it legally registered. And then we went through that process. And since I was there alone on the ground, I had to start from somewhere. So I needed to do a survey, which we discussed together, the three of us. And then we started a survey, and I got students, of course, who had completed the university, just young, and I trained them how to do the survey. And from that team, I also got those who were who had hands-on, the best of the best. And then we started slowly by slowly. And so we had in mind, that, okay, it's a young company. There is no similar company that is doing this. So there is no existing experience on building affordable housing, and especially for the low income people. So everyone we talked to, even when we were designing, they could not believe that somebody in Beira especially can build a house and sell it, put it on the market at $10,000. It was, including the engineers at the municipality, they never believed that. So
that's
we
why
started...
they only have 600 mortgages right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we started with three young graduates, and then we started training them in how to design, how to talk to clients, how to do things our own way in affordable housing, based on the experiences we had in different countries. And since that time up to now, we have about 60, including the building team. The construction team, we have about 60 on average. Usually we reduce when the construction reduces, and we increase when the number of units we need to build. So, but then we group them into two categories: the office staff, the administrators and the managers, and then the building team. And I believe it has been successful. We train them, everyone, so they start doing like internship. All those who come, they do like 3 months internship. And during these 3 months, we are really training them to our doctrine, to our norms and values, how to implement programs in affordable way on our own. And then the construction team, the same. So we also get them, if they are new, we get them, we train them for 2 weeks. And then they graduate like that. So you start like a trainee. Then when you are done, we give you a short-term contract for 3 months. And then when you pass that one also, will graduate you to getting somehow long-term contract and long-term contract. So we keep.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Marie, go.
I think one thing that's very important to understand for a country like Mozambique is that the economy and the whole systems that are there are working for a certain higher level income group. And that is where data is collected and is available in all the registries. But the majority of people, minimal 2/3, lives informally. So they don't officially, you would say, exist. So so usually if there would be external teams or even government teams coming in and saying, we want to design a program, affordable housing for these people, there would be no data. I think one groundbreaking thing we really started off with is to go into these low income communities. And with low income, I mean, people earning a family income between $100 to $750. And really speaking, a month, a month. Really speaking about their needs and their dreams.
And these people, for people who don't know Mozambique and similar countries, some of these people have jobs and are working in the formal sector, in low-paid jobs, maybe in the port or as drivers or something like that. But then there's also a huge proportion of the population of Beira are working in what we would call the informal sector. So they're not on salaries or anything like that. They're just earning their way, doing little bits of informal business or running a small stall in the market or something like that, just to make ends go by. And so that's a large part of our customer base as well. So it's finding those sort of people. And some of the stories of our customers I find really exciting. They're the kind of people who have been excluded from living in a decent place because of the kind of income they have, the kind of job they have, and being able to provide them with a safe, secure home that's going to be their future and their aspiration.
But that's splendid. Basically, what I hear then is that people struggling on a daily basis to survive are now provided with an opportunity to have a more long-term perspective, right? By having a home. And at the same time, as Richard mentioned, you are providing 60 people already, whereas Casa Real is not, it's going on for how many years now? 2+, right?
Well, effectively 2, because we faced several cyclones since starting in 2018. 2019, we were hit by the biggest ever cyclone to hit sub-Saharan Africa. And that took a time to recover. And of course, the pandemic didn't help. So we started in 2018, but you could say effectively the work, and I look, it's a bit tough on Zoom, but I look at Richard here. Effectively, I would say we're really 2 years in operation in a very dysfunctional market.
Yeah, so, and then already have a team of 60 people, providing education, giving them a more formalized way of living, right? And at the same time, building homes which were previously only available for the elite, because that's basically what Empowa is trying to help with, is to provide you with an opportunity of decentralized finance, besides the fact that we want to involve a wider community. I'm very curious maybe to have a very brief, you mentioned it already, Andrew, that the interest rates are about 30% at the moment, especially for the lower class. Informal class probably doesn't even have access to credit. What's the construction, Richard, Marie-Odile and Andrew, that you're working with right now in order to help these people to get a loan for the incremental houses that you are providing, right?
Yeah, maybe I answer to that, because that's what I'm responsible for as director, the bringing in investments and partnership to help solve these to a certain extent. We can't solve them all, but the challenges, the market context challenges. As a company, we have success. As if you look really at the basics of our company, we offer affordable quality houses and are greening the portfolio with Empowa's help also, that people want and can afford. So at a basic level, we have a success. We have already, Richard can speak to that, we have more than 30 people already who have bought a home and have entered. But the real challenge we're still facing, we were really excited about 2 years ago to have a partnership with a bank who was really keen to enter this market, and where they previously wouldn't, a local African bank, where they previously wouldn't even consider clients of less than $750 monthly income. Through us, they were keen to go down market. But the reality is, with the structure of such a bank and their overheads and the local financing, the pricing they have for local financing already being set in high double figures, it makes it very difficult. I mean, I wouldn't take a mortgage of 30%. So the 30 clients we have in houses already now, the 30 plus, they're actually the exception to the rules. They're the ones who have saved already 20 years to be able to put down a deposit. So even though the interest rates are high, it's still, you'll do it to get to that finish line of because you only have to still have a loan of a couple of years. So even if it's high interest, you'll deal with it. Others, for instance, have been lucky enough to have their employer finance it. But our vision when we started was to have many more houses for many more average common Mozambicans. And if you only work with the exceptions, you can't reach there. So we early last year, we thought, or actually 2 years ago, we need to find another way, because it's too much hard work finding the exception to the rule, and it's not living up to the dream we had when we started to have houses for the masses. So we set up this lease to buy scheme, or it's also known as a tenant purchase scheme, where we actually do the selection of the clients, because the challenge is also often they don't pass the algorithm for acceptance at the bank, because they have a combination of jobs. They have one low income formal job as a nurse, a teacher, a sweeper, whatever, but then they have extra jobs on the side to be able to have a livable income. So how is a bank going to credit rate that? And we can easier take the risk, because they start at a lease period. So the intention of the lease to buy scheme is to have clients lease a maximum, in our case, it works for a maximum of 3 years. And then they would be eligible, if they would still need it, for a mortgage. And because they've then already, through leasing, saved from the lease, we keep a bit aside for them to save a deposit of at least 25%. Even in the local market conditions, which are still dysfunctional, but even there, they then if the total amount you need to still loan for the house is lower, then even with that high interest rates, it's acceptable still. And for the banks, it's also great, because they have a 3-year of track record of a client, and in essence, these are then, I would say, from informal excluded clients, you make them into golden clients because they have an asset, the house, that they're keen to invest in. They've shown they put money into it. So no, this is a scheme we think is the key to unlock this sector. And with Empowa walking this path with us, we think we can reach great heights there. And Richard can speak more to the dreams if you stand.
No, but it's interesting because I'm wondering, Blane, you know, because for me, the blockchain it's relatively new, right? But Blane is more of an expert on that territory. So I'm wondering this whole, because if you start to now have the reliability of a client for a period of 3 years, you can either deposit to a bank, but on a blockchain, probably you can also show the reliability of the client. Is that so, Blane? Or
yeah, well, that is one potential benefit of the blockchain is you can, I guess, keep a record of all different transactions, and they could be linked to people, they can be linked to businesses. The exciting thing with blockchain from my angle is, and I'm still learning myself as well how this space works, is the fact that it is early days and we're kind of just brushing the surface of the opportunities and the potential of blockchain. And the exciting thing for Empowa, at least in my eyes, is the fact that we are kind of trying to merge these two worlds, so the crypto world and the kind of the traditional on the ground tangible. We're working with bricks and beams and concrete and timber, combining those two worlds in a way that makes sense. But yeah, like you said, Alke, that definitely is a possibility, and that is one way to leverage blockchain for this particular use case. One thing I'm also very big on the environment. That's kind of my side interest, and one challenge that we are facing is not only providing affordable housing, but ones that are sustainable. So would like to know, I guess, from the Project Catalyst homes, we're building out 3 different kind of versions of these homes. Can you speak to maybe some of the interests from the community in terms of the different options and, yeah, I guess from like a supply demand level, are there any interests for the more affordable ones? And yeah, maybe speak to that a bit.
Yes, well, I think from the environmental side, there's a few angles to the whole thing. The first, of course, is that a country like Mozambique has made very little contribution to the global carbon crisis historically. It's been a really underdeveloped country, and so they're very much suffering due to the West's overconsumption, my overconsumption and other people's, rather than their own. So there's a matter of justice here. But on the other hand, the next 50 years is going to see massive urban development in Africa, because that's where people are moving to cities. So if we're going to change our consumption patterns and change the way we build things, we have to change the way we're going to build cities. And that's going to be in Africa, because in Asia and Europe, we've already done it. And so it's Africa where it's happening, where people are moving in every day, thousands of people into African cities. So it's finding a way, a balance between finding a better low carbon way of building sustainable cities in Africa that also provides a bit of justice for the poorest people on the planet. And in a way, we don't want to just experiment with things that we're not sure if they're going to work or not, when it's people's life savings at stake. So it's finding that balance between building a house that doesn't consume massive amounts of carbon, that will provide a sustainable solution, and yet is appealing to our customers, who are these people. Because it might be only $10,000, but that's the biggest sum of money they've ever experienced in their life. And that's a huge debt to them. So it's got to be something that's good for them as well. So we're trying to find the technologies that are going to reduce the amount of, for instance, cement you use in a building, because cement is a huge carbon producing industry. So if we can just reduce the amount of cement we use, we can reduce the amount of carbon going in. Switching our timber to a supplier who we know and trust is bringing it from a sustainable source. And Richard has found a great one for the moment that we're now using. And then finding ways, for instance, of keeping our houses well ventilated and cool without using air conditioners, which are also just using huge amounts of energy and cost a lot of money for our clients. So Richard mentioned a solar reflective paint. So painting the roofs with a paint that will reflect something like 90% of the rays from the sun, so that the house is not absorbing heat from the metal roof, which is what everyone roofs with in Africa. And then putting a layer of insulation underneath and working out the ventilation. So those are the kind of features as well. We're also introducing rainwater collection from our houses, so that when it rains, there's water there in the house collected in a small tank. And then finally, finding ways of irrigating and creating a lovely environment around the houses from the wastewater. So we treat it up to a standard and then use a sort of circular basis to reuse that water on site. We're always on the lookout for different technologies that we could use to improve things. And we have to also know our own environment. I mean, for example, from Beira, you have to go, I think it's about 120 kilometers inland to find the first bit of stone, because it's on a massive sand plain, and which is washed in from the Southern Ocean. So we have to find technologies that can use sand for building and not stone for building or clay for building. And that limits our options. But we're constantly investigating, trying to find new ways of building and better ways of building to find these solutions.
And that is also in partnership with Empowa now and the Catalyst funding, why we're exploring together with Easy Housing to what it would mean if you would do only with local resources, with local materials, build a CO2 neutral and maybe even CO2 negative house, and to see what the feedback of our clients is. And Richard has more to share also on what our clients think of what we're doing right now and planning in the future.
So the house, actually, especially the one we are going to start with next month.
From Easy Housing.
Easy Housing will be a great opportunity to test the market, because I mean, I can't say it's new. Some people have used that, but for like offices and the like, but for housing, we will be testing it also to check the market and to get feedback. And because we are looking, our ambition, Alke was asking about our ambition. Our ambition is to scale affordable housing in Mozambique, and we are not only looking at Beira. Beira is where we started from. We are also looking at other cities going forward to scale affordable housing. And as Andrew was saying, new cities are going to emerge, and also those who are existing are going to expand. We will expand also affordable housing to that area. So opportunity to test the market and get feedback and correct what is poorly perceived in the communities will be a great thing that we are starting with this pilot project. If you talk about the ambition, actually, it's because, as Marie-Odile was talking, it's because people don't have really financing that they have saved for 10, 20 years that they can come and buy houses. But we have a very long list of clients who even can afford if there was an opportunity for them to access financing. We have more waiting lists that any opportunity, we don't need to go look for clients. No, the buyers are there. It's only that they do not have the capacity.
And that's, I think, the most important lesson to come out of Casa Real. It's not due to poverty that people don't have affordable houses in Mozambique. It's because there's no offering, and because of the challenges in the market conditions. There's no offering till date, and the market conditions in the country.
I mean, it's amazing what I hear from Casa Real and the pioneering that you've done so far, but not only the pioneering done so far, but also pioneering for the future, right? As I understood that the houses that are financed through Project Catalyst, they are also in line with the green certification, which is provided by the IFC. And it's called EDGE. And I think that the construction of Easy Housing is even carbon negative. which is it's very revolutionary, even in the Western part of the world. I think maybe we would like to explore that a little bit more in another round of in another podcast, right? To see, whether we can go in depth on that and what challenges you're facing, and also the way it's perceived by the community. I have one last question I would really like to ask is that, especially in an environment as Mozambique, where you have all these challenges, but you've been tackling them one by one and bit by bit with really impressive results, because within 3 years you've employed 60 people. I understood you have access to homes for women, which is a group that's rarely taken care of when it comes to property. I also, if you look at the figures, within 3 years, you've already put down 30 homes in a country where there are only 600 homes on a mortgage base. You've developed partnerships with banks. You've developed a partnership with Empowa and others. And now, so is there something that would help you from a community that's enthusiastic and working in the more digital world and can reach out to any kinds of, I'm just curious whether we can combine, Mozambique with our Empowa community.
Well, I think we're still at an early stage of this all, Mozambique being a country with 30 million people, and we are market leader already on these types of affordable homes. We certainly need support at all kinds of levels, and let's walk. We're excited to be walking this path with Empowa itself and the wider Empowa community, and let's jointly define where there are matches. We can also start detailing out ourselves a bit more what's necessary. But at the end of the day, and I don't want to be sounding too greedy here, but it's the reality. It's, housing needs investment. Yeah. Otherwise it stays small. So what I, on behalf of Casa Real, I'm most excited about in the partnership with Empowa is the potential for more and more affordable financing to go into Casa Real, because even for us also the alternative is with local financing to then have interest rates also 30% plus. You can't build an affordable housing business to that, and bringing in investments from abroad is challenging. That's another structural issue we faced last year when we finally had some level of investor from a social investor, our money being stuck. Our money, the loan we were due to get, stuck with central bank for 5 months. We had to fire half of our construction staff. So the potential of more and more affordable funding, but also more predictable funding. So the issue of finance doesn't become the bottleneck to which everything else needs to align with, but the focus can be locally, and we can plan everything else around that. So that's the right way to go about this business. So yeah, I'm not sure, maybe Richard and Andrea have other things to add to that.
Richard, do you want to go first?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That what Marie-Odile is saying is critical. Of course, housing and affordable housing is capital intensive, but not only capital intensive, but what you need to know is if you have funding and you have invested into capital, you need to be able to recycle that capital that you have. So for example, I can give you an example. You already have around 50 something that were sold. Oh. So if I sold that, then I would be able to reinvest in that. So it would be both investment for, like we are looking also towards rent to buy model. So it becomes an integration or an innovative financing that we need to be looking at. And Marie-Odile was talking also about the money that we had stuck on at central bank. which I believe Empowa will be a source of solution for us to break down these issues.
So I think the key issue is we're talking about finance for our customers buying the houses from us is the key issue. And this is where Empowa come in.
Yeah.
If that can work, then our business can work and our clients can get their houses. It's not so much money for us to run our company, it's money for them to buy their houses. And that's where the tenant purchase scheme comes in.
Yeah.
And the great thing about that money is that it's linked to the house as well. So it's linked to a very secure asset and to people who are wanting to buy that asset. And that's what's been unavailable. Well, it's one of the key things that's unavailable in Mozambique. And it's one of the keys to unlocking this market. And it's simply not available in Mozambique through traditional lines, through traditional building societies or banks or other providers of credit. It's just not there. And yet those secure assets are available on our site for those clients. And so there's a real opportunity to tie some finance scheme to a house, to people who want to pay regularly to get their own home. And that's the thing that it can unlock. And if that gets unlocked, then our business has a future for these young Mozambicans doing it, and people can continue to get houses, because then we can recirculate that money into building more houses for more clients and more people to get a step on the housing ladder.
We're not asking for charity, even though we work with low-income people. We have a strong business case. It's just no one can run a sustainable, affordable housing business when you have to deal with interest rates of 20 to 30+%. No one could be able to do it, not even in the West.
That's a nice question, isn't it, to the community on how to, because basically we are already reaching out, right, to generate affordable and predictable funding through Empowa and through our community. But that would be a nice question to see whether we can generate more of that.
Yeah, definitely. How. I think we want to involve the community in as many parts of what we do as we can. And one, we can definitely ask the question to the community around that. And also from a kind of a less serious point of view with this podcast, because we want this to be a monthly podcast. What we'll do after this, once this one goes live, we'll communicate with our community and just see what they want us to talk about as well, because there's so many different things to talk about. I know with this one, we try to keep it to 30 minutes, but I think we've almost doubled that. But that's just the nature of podcasts.
Yeah, you're going to cut some pieces, right?
But the community is obviously an important part of what we do. And yeah, we'll ask the community these questions and get them involved where we can, for sure. But I think that was a good thing to end on, because Richard, one thing you mentioned was with your mission is scaling this thing, and scalable impact is something that I am really quite passionate about. And to achieve that scale, you need to leverage technology, blockchain, but part of that is also you need some financial model that makes sense. And at the moment, the bottleneck is, or what, at least one of the big bottlenecks for you guys is the financing. And that's something that crypto, fortunately, can address specifically. So it's got to be exciting to see how that plays out, because if we can provide a solution to that very particular and important problem, then that impact can flow a lot better than it currently is.